Hey, I'm Zoe.
And I'm Fox.
And today we were going to review X-Men First Class, but you know what? We did you one better.
So this was a movie.
This movie was very strange. I have a lot of good memories of this movie before I rewatched it. And then I rewatched it and I'm like, half of this movie's horrible.
For every good moment of the movie, there are two bad moments.
Yeah, it makes so many weird decisions. But there are some aspects of it that are great. Michael Fassbender, amazing choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
James McAvoy, not as good as Michael Fassbender for Magneto, but James McAvoy for Charles Xavier, pretty good.
Yeah. He got smarmy asshole.
He got smarmy
Real
asshole.
well.
He got. There's a tone of naivete in it that adds itself to the character.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out pretty well, I would say. Especially because this is like a younger, impulsive Xavier.
Right. Some of the other acting choices were bad.
Yeah.
Emma Frost's... first of all, her character was nothing, and the actress brought nothing to the table.
Yes. There were several... Emma Frost and Darwin got shafted. The actor for Darwin was better.
Yes.
The actor Emma Frost was not good also. But both of their characters got fucking shafted.
Mystique's actress didn't do much for me.
Yeah, me neither.
Granted, the character is, again, not necessarily well written or even interesting.
Well, the problem is that this movie doesn't know what Mystique actually is or how to use Mystique as a character.
Yeah.
And so it makes up a new character and just calls her Mystique.
Kind of like how they had a character named Angel who isn't Angel.
Yeah.
And doesn't even have angel wings. She had pixie wings. What the fuck is wrong with this movie?
Yeah. That was frustrating. I wish that they wouldn't have done this because it would have gotten way too weird way too quickly. But it is kind of sad that Azazel was just regulated to just being a mutant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad. By the way, Azazel is in this.
Azazel is in this. He doesn't show up ever again.
Along with Emma Frost and...
A tornado guy. I don't think his name's ever said.
I think maybe once it is said in the very beginning, and then he just does nothing.
I don't think so.
And I don't know who he's supposed to be.
I don't know either. But I don't think his name was ever said. I think he was just like gestured to and then he did his tornado thing.
Maybe. I don't know if he actually says a single word.
So Airman from Mega Man 2 is in this. And he does a decent job. But there are some good parts. As we said, Michael Fassbender as Magneto. We've got James McAvoy as Charles Xavier. We have Kevin Bacon as, I don't know his villain name, Sebastian Shaw. A+, did a great job there. There's a lot of cool moments. I like Banshee. Can't remember the actor's name.
Yes.
The guy who played Banshee did a good job. Hank McCoy also got his character shafted. That was sad. But his actor is a good actor, and he did a good job with what he was given. I can't fault him for that.
Right.
And there's a lot of scenes that are wild as hell. Especially near the beginning of the movie. But like the very beginning of the movie and then the very end of the movie go wild.
Yes.
But the middle part of the movie, for the most part.
The middle part of the movie really made you feel the 2-hour runtime.
Yeah. It was really unfortunate. So plot of X-Men First Class. It is 60s?
Yeah, because of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right. It is the 60s. Height of, Cold War. Cuban Missile Crisis happens during the movie. It hasn't started, but it starts partway through. And Charles Xavier is finishing his doctorate. Mystique is a childhood friend of his in this continuity for some reason. They hang out all the time.
Yeah, she broke into his house as a kid.
And then
he adopted her.
Basically adopted her as a sister. But she has a crush on him in a really weird way.
I don't know if it's necessarily a crush so much.
No, it's 100% a crush. They have the whole scene of like, "Would you date me?" Like she tries to like sexualize herself for him, and he's like, "No, I don't think of you that way."
I think it's more not necessarily that she's attracted to him, but she just wants some sort of human connection, and he's really all that she has.
Maybe. Well, okay, so this is another one of the issues. There's like attempts at love triangles in this, and it's so stupid. Anyways, so Charles Xavier gets his doctorate, and Moira, and then around the same time, Sebastian. Okay, I have to back up. Sorry, we started in the 60s. Technically, the story starts in World War II with Magneto. They basically recreated a scene from X-Men 1.
Right,
which was Kid Magneto getting dragged away from his parents and tearing apart the gate at Auschwitz. Was it Auschwitz or was it one of the other camps?
Oh, I don't know if it's ever actually flat out stated.
I think that I know it comes back in Apocalypse. I think we'll get a definitive answer then.
Okay.
So there's a scene because they return to the ruins of that camp in Apocalypse.
Oh, that sounds sad.
It is sad. It's a sad scene.
Okay.
That's a rough movie for Magneto. We'll get to it.
I feel like a lot of movies are rough for Magneto. He doesn't have a good time.
Yeah, it's especially bad though.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he's torn away from his parents. He tears apart the gate. Sebastian Shaw, who's going by a different name in Nazi Germany. He either grew up as and became a German scientist, or he's pretending to be one because he lives a very long time because of his mutation. It's unclear how old he actually is at any given point. His backstory isn't really gotten into it. It doesn't matter. So he brings young Magneto in to his office, tells him to lift a coin, and he's having trouble with it. He brings in Magneto's mother, threatens to shoot her unless he can move the coin on like the count of 3. He fails. Sebastian shoots Magneto's mother. That causes Magneto to freak out and just destroy the adjacent room, which is full of metal materials, and then kills the 2 Nazi guards by crushing their helmets in while they're still wearing them. Very cool scene.
It's very brutal. I love it.
Very brutal, very sad. And, he's like, oh, now we know how to unlock your power. He takes this faux abusive mentorship role.
Mm-hmm.
And then moves forward into the 60s. Moira McTaggart is a CIA agent? No, FBI.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be FBI. It should be CIA. There's so many movies that fuck this up. FBI is strictly in America only. CIA is the international department. 2 wildly different jurisdictions. But it is the FBI, but it shouldn't be.
I won't fight you on that. I don't know.
I think it. I have to check.
Because.
Okay, no, she is CIA.
She is CIA. Okay.
None of that's important.
What is important is within 5 minutes of meeting her, she has to strip down to her underwear.
All right. Okay. So no. Okay. No. Now it is weird. Well, was the Hellfire Club not in America? I don't think so. I don't think it was said. But there were no people with heavy accents like a lot of movies would do to signify that a place is.
I'm pretty sure they were in America.
They're in America. Then it's definitely weird that CIA agents are fucking operating in America. That's what they don't do. FBI does that.
I mean,
that's why I thought she was FBI.
Oh. I don't know. I mean, because she was specifically looking for communists.
No, she was specifically looking for Sebastian Shaw.
Was she looking for Sebastian Shaw?
Sebastian Shaw was a known criminal and doing shady shit.
I truly don't. I was paying attention, I swear. I don't remember any of that.
I'm fairly certain. I don't know. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I don't think she was there strictly about communists.
I just remember her saying the line, well, they can't all be communists.
Did she say that?
Yeah, because there were several, I guess, like big name politicians and stuff going to this Hellfire Club. And she was like, well, they can't all be communists. Something else must be going on here.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I directly remember that line, and
it doesn't
I don't know
matter.
why.
It doesn't matter. None of this matters. None of this. The scene barely matters.
Regardless, she's on a stakeout with some guy outside of the Hellfire Club.
Right, and then she strips down to her underwear because she's conveniently wearing lingerie for no reason, and then goes and poses as a prostitute for the Hellfire Club to get into a secret room to see Sebastian Shaw meeting with a U.S. general and some mutants that show off their powers, and then they're talking about doing stuff that's going to start World War III. And in
case you think this is stupid for her to go alone inside a building where she's pretty sure that something shady is going down, she obviously doesn't belong, and she has no weapons, yes, it's stupid. But nothing happens to her.
Yeah. So, yeah, Moira McTaggart finds out about Xavier's thesis on becoming a doctor because he has a boner for mutants. So he talks about mutants literally every single conversation that he's in. I actually think that is true. I think in some way he talks about mutants in every single conversation.
Oh, just about. And it's always... most of the time it's wildly inappropriate to what's going on. Yeah. He uses it as a pickup line.
Yeah, he's like, you've got a very groovy mutation. I'm like, that's not sexy. That's not sexy. That's just weird. That's just weird. Don't say that.
What if I start
don't.
I don't even get to finish.
I know what you're going to say, and don't. We are stuck on the earliest part of this fucking movie. Moira goes to the Xavier, brings him to the director of the CIA. He reveals that he is a mutant with psychic powers, and then they go on a hunt for Shaw. Magneto, who has been hunting Nazis and trying to find Shaw, is also doing the same. They kind of converge at his boat, and Magneto tries to lift the boat, but he can't. He's not quite powerful enough yet. Xavier convinces him to stop, and then they go and gather... They use an early form of Cerebro to find other mutants to build a team, which includes Banshee, Darwin. She calls herself Angel, but she's not actually Angel. She's a pixie lady. And then also Mystique is pulled into that team. And then the team is assembled, and then immediately Shaw attacks, kills 24 FBI, it should be FBI, but it's CIA agents or more, and then convinces Angel, quote unquote, to join his side, and then kills Darwin, which is the stupidest fucking sentence I could have said just now.
Because for those that don't know, Darwin's whole power is that he adapts to the situations around him, the environments around him.
Yeah, Darwin literally can't die. That is the whole thing. No matter what situation he is in, his body will transform into something that will survive the situation. He literally got marked for death by the God of Death in the comics and became the God of Death to survive it.
We are forgetting, though, he did have one weakness in the movie, and that was called being the only black man.
Yeah.
We know why he died, and we know why the, I'm pretty sure, Latina character went to the dark side.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, was a sex worker.
Yeah.
So, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and then the attack happens, and then... they're like, oh, this isn't safe. We have to go someplace that they won't know about. And so they go to Xavier's childhood home, which is the X Mansion. And they do this training montage. And there's weird romance stuff. Okay, so yeah, Beast was working with, like, it was at the location they first go to when the attack happens. That's where Beast is. And then Mystique and Beast have a quote unquote romance subplot, and Beast and Magneto have a kind of romance subplot.
Did you say Beast and Magneto?
Beast and Mystique.
I would.
Beast and Magneto would have been interesting.
I would have been into that, actually.
Beast and Magneto would have been interesting, but no, it was Beast and Mystique, and then it was Mystique and Magneto, and then
I gotta rewrite my notes for the remake now.
and then Xavier and Magneto have like a bromance situation, which would have worked better if they've known each other longer than a week.
And like the whole reason that Xavier even knows what's going on with Magneto is because he read his mind, and it feels bad.
He downloaded Magneto's mind into his own.
Basically, and it's not good. Like
Xavier crosses almost every single conceivable line of psychic ethics in this movie. We talked about that in the last one. He is so much worse here.
Like, it's wild how unethical he is, and it's never addressed.
Partway through the movie, he asks for consent before going into Magneto's mind. I'm like, why the fuck are you bothering?
Yeah, why now of all times?
And he's also like, he told Mystique that he would never like read her mind, but like, yes, you fucking do. You almost certainly have. You can't pick and choose morality. You can't pick and choose ethics.
It's wild how much of a piece of shit he is.
Ugh. Anyways, okay, so Sebastian Shaw he sets up the Cuban Missile Crisis and then wants to use that to start World War III. And the X-Men, the newly formed X-Men, go on a mission to a small island chain around Cuba to stop it. In a big action sequence. And then Magneto... So Sebastian Shaw is the one who has the helmet that Magneto has that can block out psychic communications, but it's never actually explained. I looked it up in the comics. It's never explained there either. It's just a helmet that exists. How it works and why isn't really explained. I don't know. Anyways, so Sebastian Shaw has it, but then Magneto is able to take it, and then Charles freezes Sebastian so that Magneto can kill him. And then once Sebastian Shaw is dead, Magneto goes like, "Oh, fuck the humans! I'm 100% mutant only," and all this stuff, which makes more sense in the movie because all of the humans, because there's like the Russians and the Americans around this island chain that's going on with this mission, and then once Sebastian is like dead or is like or in this like fight, they both like start to prepare to fire both of them on the mutants. So it's like, yeah, I get you.
They actually fire a bunch of missiles.
They do, but not until Sebastian is dead and Magneto's already on his like full mutant thing. But he can tell like they're already getting ready to fire, and so like it's more understandable how he has that kind of response because like goddamn,
right?
And he basically like he starts the Brotherhood of Mutants there and all this other stuff. But so yeah, humans fire a bunch of stuff. Magneto turns their weapons turns like the shells and the bullets around and fires them back, and Charles is like, no, you can't do that, there's people who aren't making the high level decisions on those boats, and he says the stupidest fucking thing you can say to a Holocaust survivor, which is that the soldiers were just following orders. Don't say that. Just don't say that in general. Don't say it in general. Just you could not.
You could just not.
And then they have a little fist fight in the sand, Xavier and Magneto, to kind of like try to break Magneto's concentration so he doesn't kill these people. Moira comes out doing the one other thing that she does in this movie, which is firing a gun at Magneto, and Magneto deflects the bullets, and one of the bullet deflects goes into Xavier's spine and paralyzes him, which is real sad. It's a real sad moment. Yeah, and then they go their separate ways. Magneto does Brotherhood stuff, and then Xavier sets up the X-Men school and whatnot. And yeah, that's really it.
Well, also we should mention that the CIA agent Moira.
She gets her mind wiped.
Xavier and her had this weird, stupid romance. that was really pointless.
Yeah.
And he decided to wipe her memory of everything that happened and send her back to the CIA, who in the late 60s would have absolutely been terrible to her and probably labeled her a communist spy and arrested her.
Yeah.
But the movie's just gonna not touch on that, so.
Yeah, no, it's she ends up in a bad way. It's really really unfortunate. There's good parts of this movie. There are some really fun parts, like Michael Fassbender and pretty much everything he does.
Yeah.
A+. But the movie just doesn't know what it wants to do. The cowardness level has been amped up.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen that as a trend, but it's taken up another big notch here because you not only have cowardice in what you want to say in terms of the like defining political structure of the X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
but you also have a cowardice in like what you even want this fucking movie to be. Like it's so misdirected, it's so lost in what it's actually trying to be, and it's just sad. There's also like a cowardice in like these characters because they're not the comic characters, but they're also not really interesting characters on their own.
Right.
It's a at the end of the day, First Class is a bad movie with good actors in it.
Yeah. There's so much wasted potential and mishandling of characters in this.
Yeah.
And it's tragic. It is truly tragic.
Yeah.
Again, Emma Frost, she literally only existed to be another telepath against Charles for like one scene, and then she ended up arrested and did nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just nothing.
Yeah, she didn't do anything. And it's really sad.
Azazel,
I don't even know if he has a direct line.
I don't think he spoke. I do know that he had fun killing a bunch of government officials.
So good for him.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
Yeah.
Him killing a bunch of...
We got Nightcrawler-esque action, which is always fun, you know. Which, for those of you who don't know, Azazel in the comics is a demon, but also Nightcrawler's dad.
Yes.
Also, Mystique is Nightcrawler's mom. That's never talked about in the movies.
You know, it's very interesting that they didn't do anything with that. But then again, because like, how old was Alan Cummings' character? No, hold on. I lost my mind for a second.
How old was his self when he was...
Yeah, how old was Alan Cummings' self when he played Nightcrawler?
How old was his body? His soul is immortal, but how old was his body?
Versus the actors who played Mystique.
He's probably way older.
Yeah, so probably, and they probably just didn't want to like deal with that storyline.
That's fair, but like in the older movies, yeah, but like in this one, because like Nightcrawler is going to come back for the new timeline. Yeah, not for a bit, but like he will be in the future movies. They still don't do anything with it. They could have.
You inflated me with hope and then just like stabbed my balloon open.
Babe.
Yeah.
I gave you no such promise. You did that to your own damn self.
Yeah. I don't look forward to any of the other movies. Mm-hmm. I will be honest. I guess I'm excited because these upcoming movies will be ones I've never seen. Mm-hmm. First Class was the last X-Men movie I ever saw. I think this movie just like maybe killed my love for cinematic X-Men movies.
Yeah, another cowardice thing is that in regards to this movie, I mentioned when we did our review of the first movie that I was really happy that this was like not a low stakes necessarily story, but like a lower stakes thing. Mm-hmm. Like if Magneto's plan in the first X-Men movie went off, it would have affected things. But people could, like, the officials could be replaced and most of the world could go back to relative normality without too much issue. Mm-hmm. You know, that's not true for any of the movies after. They're all like, world ending, everything's crumbling down around us level things.
Yeah.
And I really, really wished that this movie wasn't about World War III. I get you're playing in that time frame. You're playing in the Cold War. It's understandable, but especially for like this is when the X-Men started. Maybe don't start them out on potential World War III. Maybe just have it be like a lower key thing. We can have lower key superhero stories.
You could have just been hunting Nazis.
Could have been hunting Nazis. Sebastian Shaw could have just been a powerful mutant who was going around killing people. You know? He didn't need to also be starting World War III. You could have kept fucking everything else in the movie the same and just have him like kill, just like be like, oh, I'm gonna kill a bunch of people, and then that's it. That's it.
Maybe just collecting mutants for what the fuck ever.
Nefarious deeds.
It's all around disappointing. There's some cool stuff, a cool scene here and there, a fun little cameo by Wolverine.
Best scene in the movie.
Absolutely. We got some great scenes of Nazi killing.
10
out of 10. Always love to see that.
Yeah. Honestly, you're also right. Like, if the movie was just purely that, with no, like, larger plot, I would be fine with it, too.
Because there'd be a great big audience for it, trust me.
Yeah, you can have it be, like... Well, Inglourious Bastards has, like, a larger plot, but you can have it kind of in the tone of Inglourious Bastards.
Inglorious X-Men, there you go.
Yeah. But it's just, like, a bunch of scenes of Nazis getting killed. Like, and then... Maybe you have, like, a lead up into, like, a slightly bigger thing, but, like, it could just be, like, a series of fights against Nazis. Maybe you have some Nazi mutants, and you fight them, and that's your big finale.
I'd love that. I would love that so much.
So, this is about the time that we need to jump into the remix, because, dear God, this movie fucking needs it.
Yeah.
So, who's starting first?
I figure that I always start first just to get me out of the way.
We usually do, but if you ever want me to start first, I can.
No, I don't mind. I'm always eager to get to my little remakes here, so I'll go.
Alright.
So, I want to keep the opening with young Eric the same. You know, his mom getting shot and establishing Shaw, etc. As for a young Charles and Mystique, I guess that can stay, but I want it framed differently. Like, let Mystique have more bite to her, not just some sad little kid that Charles takes in.
Right.
You know, she sticks around because she's intrigued and knowing someone like her, but doesn't hesitate to call him out for being a little bastard. like, have some more fun with it. Let her have more personality. And get an actress that can have personality.
God. Oh, we're really doing shots fired on this one, huh?
You know, it's our podcast. I'm letting my opinions be known on who I think is a bad actress.
Yeah.
Not the kid. She was fine.
Yeah. Kid did well enough.
Flash forward to present times. Eric is still killing former Nazis. His main goal, of course, being Shaw. And this is what leads him to Charles. Charles is still going to be getting his doctorate and still interested in mutations. I don't want Raven to have a line about being a waitress. This is just a little side thing, but, like, that stood out to me in a bad way. Like, it was just weird.
It was weird. It's everything that was done with Mystique in the beginning of this movie was weird.
She has no reason to be a waitress. She can live comfortably on Charles' dime.
Yeah, like, there's no reason for her to do any of this.
You know, but also, like, I want her to, like, go out to rougher parts of, you know, areas and get up to mischief and stuff. Because that's Mystique. You know, she's not going to be contained by one nerdy little telepath. Anyway, Shaw. I want him to have a run-in with Charles because of that dissertation on mutations. So Shaw is obviously trying to find other mutants to recruit/abuse. Maybe he sees Raven and thinks he can get to her, but Charles realizes something's up and protects her. And of course, Mystique isn't going to be played like a fool.
Right.
And during this, Eric has tracked down Shaw and intervenes, ready to kill him, but suddenly, maybe like an ally of Shaw shows up to distract him, and Shaw gets away.
Okay.
Like, because we can show that Shaw's already got a few, he just wants more.
Right.
I'm putting my foot down, no Emma Frost.
Yeah, Hellfire Club was a weird addition.
I mean, I get it because in the comics, like, Shaw is part of Hellfire Club.
Is he? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's like the head of the... At some point, he's
Is
head
he
of
the
the
head? No, Emma Frost was pretty solid, like, the leader of the Hellfire Club pretty much the entire time the Hellfire Club's a thing.
Well, there's a lot of continuity with these comics. So, no Emma Frost. Azazel can stay. That's just because I love him. I'm not really sure about having any of the Hellfire Club itself, though. At most, I think it's okay to have Shaw, like, trying to gain power and become part of Hellfire Club, but I don't want it really front and center like that.
Yeah.
You know, he's trying to pull some strings here and there and get there, but he doesn't have that kind of power yet. I'm not scrapping CIA involvement completely, but I want less of a focus on that as well.
That's fair.
Moira can still exist, I guess.
She's a big part of the comics.
She is. I don't think she's a CIA agent, though. Isn't
No, I think she's just a doctor or something.
She's
like
a doctor or a scientist of some sort.
Yeah, she's not really connected to the army.
No,
or the CIA or the government in general.
So I guess this Moira can stay, but there's not going to be a recruitment of mutants. Not to the CIA. I'm thinking she'll have been tracking Shaw, thinking he's a communist, and that's where she'll see people with strange powers and get curious. So she stakes out Charles and company for a bit. This is where we can probably start setting up, the Charles and Eric friendship. None of this, oh, you read my mind deeply, and I'm fine with that because we're so deeply connected now bullshit.
Yeah, that's so bad.
Like, Eric would never like that. But here, meeting in this new way, there's room and time for them to get to organically know each other. And have Eric slowly opening up after never having a friend before. Feeling this elation that it's not just him and Shaw who are mutants. Like, let that revelation shake his whole worldview.
Mm-hmm.
So now Charles and Raven are helping Eric try to track down Shaw. Eric probably would have noticed Moira first, just because, he knows what it's like to stalk someone, and he's not afraid of confrontation. At this point, she would try to get them to come to CIA headquarters with her, but Eric would flat out say no, because, duh. He's not stupid. He lived through one government locking him up. He won't trust the 1960s American government. He has common sense. But he is willing to work with her, mostly because Charles would want to. So this is where our trio are led to a secret setup where there's a secret CIA guy and Hank McCoy. I'm okay with Beast first appearing more human-like, because that is how it was in the original comics.
Right.
Instead of a nerd with big feet, though, make him more like his original comic appearance, where he's, a big buff guy.
He's yoked.
He's yoked, and he's, hunched like a creature, like a beast. He hunches a lot.
Yeah. He's got that gamer posture.
Fuck you. But yeah, no, he's always had muscles. Let's see more of that instead of the stock nerd body type. That way it'll also look less weird when he's blue and furry.
Right. And then that can connect more to, him allowing himself to look blue and furry and all this other stuff will make him feel more natural, which is the whole culmination of his arc.
Right. So at this point is when we'll have Charles and Eric going out and recruiting other mutants. I'm going to go ahead and keep the same team for simplicity's sake. Even Angel, apparently, and I had to look this up, she was introduced in the comics in 2001, which I did not know. I don't think she was ever a stripper.
Was she called Angel?
Well, her actual birth name is Angel, and her code name was Tempest, eventually, because she got, something happened with her original power. She got a suit that she could control fire or something. Comics are fucking weird.
Just call her Pixie. That's what she fucking is.
I don't know if, the actual Pixie we know in today's X-Men existed in 2001. I'm not sure. I don't... But yeah, no. She wasn't originally a stripper. They just added that to the movie because they needed to find some way to get every female character in revealing clothes.
Right.
So, she can stay, but she needs an actual a code name and to be allowed more of a personality, like all of the female characters in this. Also, I want Mystique to recruit her instead. Specifically, I want her to just randomly run into Angel while the boys are out recruiting and decide to drag her along. I just think that would be fun and make Mystique a little more proactive. And I think their characters could hit it off, if Mystique is actually acting like Mystique.
Right.
Also, Angel's powers, I can't remember if the movie had this, but, she spits acid. And I want more of that.
Kinda. She does spit weird shit. It's more explosive than it is acidic, but close enough in the movie.
Close enough, but not quite. I also think, at least in one iteration, she ate with a weird bug-like tongue. I want that, too. I'm a freak, though.
Yeah. I don't know if that one gets past the board.
Anyway. I think that there should be more team building and training of powers. Let us actually get to know these characters before Shaw tracks them down and tries to get them on his side. That way we get to know the characters before all this shit is happening.
Right.
I'm thinking he distracts Eric and Charles with Tornado Guy and Azazel while he goes in. Riptide, I believe is his name.
What?
Riptide, the Tornado Guy.
Why? That's not what that is!
That's not what that is, but that's his name.
That makes me so angry. That makes me irrationally angry. Why isn't he named Tempest?
Oh, that would be a much better list. I don't know. I'm not the one who's naming them. You're so upset. Anyway, fighting happens. Darwin does get blown up, but he's not dying. Okay?
I would hope not.
Everyone just thinks he is. I actually want Shaw prepared to kill the others, because I'm thinking make him more like his comics counterpart where he doesn't value life, mutant or otherwise. He's just a greedy asshole. And especially after he just killed the one black dude, but he left all the white people alive. Okay, yes, he was a Nazi, but come the fuck on.
Yeah.
At least someone had to point it out, right? Come on.
Yeah. The movie tries so hard to, make him not be a Nazi after he was a Nazi.
You can't gloss over it. He was a Nazi.
He was a Nazi for a full 2 scenes in the movie, and then the rest of the movie they're just no, I'm not actually a Nazi. I don't care about race. I just care about mutations. I'm not a Nazi. Not a Nazi, though. Not a Nazi. Fucking Christ, guys.
So for Darwin, what I want to happen is everyone thinks he's dead for a while, but what is happening is his body just had to do some weird comic book-esque shit to regroup after, being blasted.
That's fair. Yeah.
And then he comes back for the final fight, does something really fucking cool, and he lives. He lives. That's the important part.
The details don't matter here. He just has to live.
Because if he doesn't live, it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Eric and Charles come back just in time to save the others, but to do so they have to focus on that while Shaw escapes again. And this is just all wrinkling Magneto, because he keeps coming so close to revenge, and yet. Oh, and also Angel is not going with Shaw, because, no, she's grown close to this team at this point. I'm not gonna, the only characters of color here, we're not gonna shaft.
Right.
So, everyone regroups and figures out what to do. Somehow they realize what Shaw is doing and realize they have to stop him. I'm fine with letting Shaw be behind the Cuban Missile Crisis, but I want it known he's doing it more for greed rather than, mutant superiority or what the fuck ever. So, while the X-Men gear up to go stop him, Moira decides she needs to tell the CIA what's going on, essentially betraying Charles and Eric.
Okay.
Now, while everyone is preparing for the final battle, I imagine Hank has still been fiddling with his serum. I don't mind him having that character arc, but I don't want him to use Mystique's DNA. Maybe he even asks in the beginning, but she says no.
Fiddling with his serum sounds like a euphemism.
Hey baby, you want to go back to my lab and fiddle with my serum?
No. It can't be done in that kind of there's too much confidence in that. It has to be in a situation where it's Yeah, Hank's been up in his room all day just fiddling with his serum, and it's really uncomfortable, like, because we can hear it, and it's like we don't want to say anything, but we can hear it. Like, you have to use it in situations where there's a little bit of like weird shame involved.
But yeah, no, he asks to use Mystique's DNA, but she says no. Because she's not upset at her appearance, just that she has to hide it. Also, there is no weird romance between them.
Good.
Yeah.
Fuck romance plots in these movies. They've done them all bad.
All bad. There's not a single good one. I mean, Charles and Eric, but that's...
If only!
It's unintended, but it's better than the rest.
Yeah.
So anyway, he injects himself, and bam, he unlocks dormant strands of the X gene that turn him blue and furry. Glow up.
Yeah.
I figure a lot of stuff will be similar at this point. A bunch of fighting on the ocean, an island that they crash on. Magneto, I think at some point during the fighting, crafts a makeshift helmet to protect himself and just keeps it on. And then when he realizes it stops Charles from reading his mind, he keeps it.
That's fair.
That way he's not getting his iconic headgear from the Nazi that shot his mother.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
It just felt dirty to me.
Yeah.
I want him to realize Moira spilled to the CIA and has been reporting back to them. There's a confrontation. He's prepared to kill her, but he's also got to stop a shit ton of missiles, so he has to focus on that instead. I actually want Charles to calm him down. Beg him not to kill the soldiers. Not because they're just following orders, but because by killing them, he will start a war between mutants and humankind. And to think of all the other mutants out there. Alone. Easy targets. It would be like sentencing them to death. And Eric, even though every fiber of his soul screams for him to kill the soldiers, realizes Charles is right. He doesn't want children rounded up like he was, so he lets the soldiers go. Not everything has to happen in one movie. Charles doesn't need to become paraplegic yet.
Yeah, they went a little far with that one.
Yeah, like he can keep his legs for another movie, the use of his legs. And Eric doesn't need to create the Brotherhood yet, Let him have more time with Charles. Let him build up this rage. He's not creating the Brotherhood yet, but the seeds are still going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's going to make him more tragic later on down the line when he does break away.
Right.
And it does, go more in line because this movie is supposed to be following... It's supposed to be a prequel to the first three movies, right?
Yeah,
Kinda.
yeah. It doesn't really end up being that.
Right.
And we'll see why in Days of Future Past, but ostensibly that's what this movie is trying to be.
Well, in that regard, I remember in the third movie when they both were old men when they went to go see Jean.
Yeah.
So, you don't, become Magneto and then stop being Magneto for a little bit to start a school with your ex.
Right. Though I think it was implied that, that was a while after the school had been started, and then maybe they had started to kind of split apart, but then, this was a bigger deal. This was something more powerful. And so he's like, hey, I know we're a little strained. I need your help, though.
Maybe.
And then that was they went through the thing, and then the events happened as shown in X-Men 3, and then that's when they kind of fully split apart.
We can't say for sure because the movie was really bad at telling things.
Yeah, that's almost certainly fan fiction. So
also, in X3 when he went to go see Jean as a kid, wasn't he able to walk? I feel like he wasn't paralyzed then.
I don't remember.
Either way, it doesn't matter. He's not paralyzed in my remake.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, that sounded so threatening. Are you going to be the one to shoot Professor X?
No, not me personally.
Let's send someone else.
Yeah, I'll order the hit.
Anyway, that's my remake.
I'd say that's pretty good. I'd say it's pretty good. It is more conservative than I expected. Not in terms of politics, but in terms of like how much you're shifting. I tend to be like pretty closed in, pretty close to the original movie, and you tend to go pretty far out.
I do.
Doesn't seem to be the case this time. That's fascinating for me.
I wanted to rein it in a little, tighten up what they had.
You know what? That's fine. We're just gonna move on. What's funny is that I did go a little more out there.
Ooh.
Yeah. Couple of big things from the very beginning. Mystique does not grow up with Charles.
Okay.
Not at all. Mystique is also way older than Charles, because that's also true in the comics. Mystique's been around for a very long time. She ages incredibly slowly because of her whole situation. She's been alive for, I think it's like similar with like Wolverine. She doesn't fully know how old she is, kind of situation. And for the vast majority of that time, she was like a vagrant. She was like a thief. She kept herself, but she didn't really have like a lawful place in society. She kept to the shadows. She did, odd jobs and things like that. She also has a past with Azazel. That past will not be really talked about in this movie, though I would like to have one little back and forth. Like, something like, oh, they know each other. They've got a history. We don't know what the history is, but they have a history. That's as far as this movie needs to go with it, because we do not need to get into the idea of demons in this movie.
Not yet.
Not yet. But we leave the door open. We make it clear, because he's going to be working with Sebastian Shaw, because of course he is. Like, Azazel wouldn't fucking let that chance go by.
Yeah, why the fuck not?
But and it could be like Sebastian can have a line where he's like talking about like mutants, and then like he like frames the sentence in a way where it's clear that he doesn't consider Azazel a mutant. But it's not like said explicitly. We can kind of leave it open ended. Charles is going to have 2 degrees when he graduates.
Okay.
He's going to have a degree in genetics, but he's also going to have a teaching degree. Because it's fucking weird that a person with no interest in teaching just starts a school. Also, you can't just do that in New York. You can't just become a teacher.
Wait, in the movie, isn't his doctorate to be a teacher?
No!
Oh, I thought it was, because Mystique even calls him professor once he graduates.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't have plans for that for a very long time. But it's also not like he doesn't have like a teaching degree. He doesn't really have a teaching degree.
Oh.
He's also like university. This is like a different kind of thing. Like somebody who's really well, like known in like a field can be invited by a university to come teach classes. But you need like a teacher's degree for handling like children. Which is his whole thing.
Right.
Also, I want him to be excited about the idea of teaching, which he's definitely not in this fucking movie.
Right. He's mostly excited about trying to fuck women and showing off.
Yeah. And I want his kind of interest in genetics to be a side thing that's connected to him being a mutant. His primary goal is teaching. That's what he wants to do. Also, he's going to be a lot less. He's going to use his powers a lot less because, and this is what it should have been in this movie, his role is he is, in terms of the allegory, he is a closet gay.
Yes.
But like, and that's kind of true in the movie, but it's like, it's closet, in the movie he's closet to the straights, open to everybody else. And even then, to more and more straight people, he comes out. Not even that. I want him to be fully locked down on that, and he's not necessarily ashamed, but he's like, this is dangerous. I can't put myself in this position. I have too many plans. I'm going to be involved with children. I'm going to be in a bit of a, not necessarily like a public thing, but I'm being interfacing with a lot of people. I can't let this compromise what my goals are. And eventually, I'm going to get to a point where I can, be involved with, teaching mutant children almost specifically, and then have that be a thing. But that's a progress thing. He's like, not right now. Things are too dangerous on this right now. That's what his position is, which is the contrast to Magneto, who is an open and proud gay.
Yeah.
That is their contrast in the allegory. Then Mystique is going to be not a villain, is not going to be working with Shaw, but is going to be a bit villainous. Going to have a bit of a darker streak.
That's how I like her.
She's a bit manipulative. She steals. She doesn't form a lot of really close bonds. She is going to like plant the initial seeds unintentionally in Magneto for the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
She's going to be a core part of that, which is why continues to be the right-hand person in the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
She will temporarily be on the side of the X-Men in this movie, but by the end of it, it's going to be clear that she's not going to stay. She's going to leave. She will wander. She will be doing her thing like she's been doing for who knows how long.
Right.
She's not going to have a huge core part of the story. She's kind of there. And she kind of plants the seed for the Brotherhood. Magneto is... His whole thing is he's on the hunt for Shaw. I love that. I love him hunting Nazis. Shaw's whole thing, he is not starting World War III.
Okay.
Because nuclear apocalypse is going to kill all the mutants on the planet either way. Mutants aren't going to be able to survive nuclear apocalypse, and he knows that. He's not trying to start World War III. He doesn't need to. Like, the whole motivation in the fucking movie is that this will create more mutants. He's like, he doesn't need to. He knows that there's a lot of mutants who either don't know they're mutants or know and are hiding it. He's recruiting. That's his thing, this movie. That's all he's doing this movie. He's just recruiting. So Magneto's going to be on the path of finding Shaw. Shaw is going to find out that Xavier is a mutant and then try to recruit him. And Xavier is going to be like, no. And that's where in that process, Xavier's going to run into Magneto. And Magneto's going to tell him, hey, this guy was a Nazi. He's done some horrible things. He is on the warpath, and he's recruiting people to join. This is more incidentally. Magneto is not trusting Xavier with this. It's just like Xavier was there. He's like, this is the reason why you shouldn't join up with him. That's why he's telling that. And then Xavier is like, okay, if that's the case, I can't sit idly by and let this happen. So he joins Magneto on his quests. Magneto agrees begrudgingly. I would say soon after they meet, Magneto, I'm going to have it be canon in the thing that like certain metals and at certain thicknesses block Charles's telepathic abilities. We can have it be fairly specific so he can do some wild shit later. But like there is metals that block telepathic access. And then Magneto, once he figures that out, he creates the helmet initially because he doesn't trust Charles. He's like, you're a telepath. You're incredibly dangerous. I don't trust you to not read my mind or fuck with my mind, even though Charles doesn't want to do that because he doesn't really want to use his powers. They know Sebastian is recruiting. So they try to get ahead of him. They're going to the people that Shaw is trying to recruit. Okay. So you've got this version of Angel, Tempest, whatever. You've got I'll say Angel, Darwin, Banshee, and what's his name? Havoc, yes. Those four are on the list that Shaw is trying to recruit. Beast shows up because once they bring people together, they're like, Xavier has been, because he has a long-term plan of wanting to eventually create this school for mutants and all this other stuff. So he's been kind of like tooling his mansion for that purpose. He's like, I've got this land, I've got this house, I've got to use it for this. So he's been in the background kind of working on it. So it's kind of in progress. And he will have, before the movie is started, gotten in touch with Hank, who he doesn't realize is a mutant, because Hank is also kind of going a bit incognito. Hank and Moira. Moira is the nurse. But she's not just a nurse. She's like a very smart scientist who's really good at medical sciences, and is also a pretty smart geneticist as well. You kind of need somebody like that on hand for a school like this. They've known each other for a few years. History in the background, maybe they were together for a while, split up, but they're still amicable. So you can have that, because I know there's some aspect of that in the comics. Hank is there. He is not known as a mutant immediately. He is there to help, because part of the whole thing is like, I'm going to be teaching mutants, and I want to help make sure that they can handle their powers. Hank is an expert at studying like physiology and creating things to help balance mutant physiology. He's got the serum, he makes the suit for Banshee and Havoc and all those other things. That's his thing. He's good at making things to deal with mutant physiology, and he's good because he's been doing it for himself for like years. Either Xavier recruits him over the course of the movie, or he's known him for a bit before the movie starts. I'm fine with either. But he's more going to be involved on, like, he was originally going to be brought in for the school aspect, and then he gets worked in with everything else that's happening. Then we have Shaw has already recruited Azazel, has already recruited a couple others. I don't want Emma Frost in this. I don't want the Hellfire Club involved in this.
I like that we both agree no Emma Frost.
No Emma Frost. I would want... Okay, the Tornado guy can stay. Riptide, I hate that. He can stay, and then we need one more on Shaw's side. I want it to be a little more thematic and more connected to like what's going on with these other characters. I'd have to look up one. I don't have one off the top of my head. A lot, like the vast majority of this movie is just like the action is, can we recruit these people before Shaw does?
Right.
And then it gets like closer and closer every time. There's like little fights, and then once the four are recruited, Shaw's like, fuck this. I have been chasing these people. They're all in this one location. I know where they are because of XYZ reason. I'm going to attack them directly. I do kind of like the idea of them fighting on this kind of like retrofitted X-Mansion, kind of in progress kind of thing. I don't like the idea because there is a meme of the X-Mansion blowing up in almost every movie. Don't love that. So maybe it wouldn't be that. But like the location of this fight is up in the air. But it would be Shaw attacking directly. And then like the X-Men kind of like defending themselves and then taking out Shaw. And I want to make... And the reason for this, I don't want them to be super aggressive because this is the first showing for the X-Men. I want them to be on the back foot because allegorically that's their position. That's the mutants' position in society. These are the people on the back foot. These are the people who are struggling to stay, at the head of the race. But they're breaking every barrier and boundary they can to do it. And they're working together. Having them be on the back foot until this like very end, we're like, okay, we're going to wait for them to come to us, and we're going to protect ourselves and the people that we care about. We're not going to attack and hurt people because that's not what we do here. That needs to be the core guiding thing of the X-Men, because that's what stays true with the X-Men. And then part of the seed of the Brotherhood is that Magneto does suggest an aggressive option, but he gets shot down. And he lets that go. But that idea of like, he wants to be aggressive, he wants to be active, he wants to take these risky steps to affect that kind of change. That's what sets him on the path of creating the Brotherhood. That's what sets these two things apart. The X-Men are defensive, the Brotherhood is offensive. There would also be like the side things of I think Beast is like has to maintain his like human looking form, and he can still be yoked out. I think he would be less like weird Igor and more like it's weird that a linebacker is a scientist vibe. Like that I think what would be I would do for the movie, simply because I think it's specific because if he's already like trying to like hold back the like beast aspects. It'd be weird if he looked like a fucked up human. You know what I mean? If he's already trying to look human, it would be weird if he just accepted weird human.
Right. I getcha.
So, like, that could be a thing of, like, him spending time with all these others. Like, he can have, like, a coming out scene, like, hey, I'm actually a mutant. And that can also be tied with him accepting his beast nature and his blue skin and his fur and all sort of stuff. And that could be a great moment, emotional moment. Love that. That could be a nice little background storyline. No romance stuff. I'm okay with potential romance between Eric and Xavier, but it would have to be subtle and played very well. I don't want it to be overt.
Okay.
Because that's not the point of what we're doing here.
Right.
You know, it's not what we're doing here.
I think, like, even if you didn't want Eric and Charles to be a couple, it would just come across that no matter what.
Yeah.
Just because the characters.
It's just kind of how they are.
And you don't need to push more than that.
Yeah. And then Magneto sticks around on the X-Men after the end of the movie. Mystique leaves, but Magneto stays. We'll have him stay for one more movie, and then he can leave after that. And then he's got his helmet because he figured out this thing. It's explained in the movie, and it's originally because he doesn't trust Charles, and then becomes kind of like, this is kind of iconic for him. He sticks with it, though he becomes more comfortable taking off the helmet when Charles is near. It's shown as a sign of respect. He takes off the helmet when Charles enters.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like obvious mind-reading consent, which is a good step for Charles in his personal development of, like, knowing when it's okay. Like, he grapples with the idea of psychic ethics. Mm-hmm. He deals with that problem of, like, when is this okay? Is it ever okay? And then, like, Eric can be like, I am giving you a permission to do this with my mind. I'm okay with it because of XYZ reason. And that can be the important thing of, like, we establish boundaries, but it's okay for you to use your powers. And that's important.
Yes.
We don't need Charles in a wheelchair right now. We don't need Charles being bald. We don't need to do anything like that. It can all come on its own. But the movie shouldn't be any more complex than this. It should just be two sides recruiting mutants for their own reasons, and then there's a fight, and then that's it. It shouldn't be bigger stakes than that, because this is the beginning of the X-Men, and the origin of the X-Men carries with it stakes for the audience.
Right.
Like, do the X-Men actually survive this? I mean, of course we know they do, but, like, it's like, how do they survive? And what are the ideas that come foundationally because of it? We need to focus on that. We don't need to focus on World War III, nuclear apocalypse, all this other bullshit. We don't need to worry about any of that.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not what this is about. So, that's my rating.
I like it a lot.
Thank you.
I do also enjoy that we both thought that the reason Eric and Charles would first meet is because Shaw would go to Charles.
Yes. I mean, it makes sense.
It does make a lot more sense.
Shaw's looking for mutants, and Charles is a powerful mutant.
Can I just say that makes more sense than when Moira in the movie was like, "Oh, hey, you wrote a thesis or a dissertation or whatever on mutations.
Yeah.
Do you know people with superpowers? What?
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was weird.
There's A to B to C, and then there's A to what the fuck ever.
Yeah. Those were our remakes. I hope you all enjoyed. We've got Days of Future Past coming up next. We are getting closer and closer to the end of this X-Men marathon. It's been a little bit longer than I expected, I'll be honest.
The next one is Days of Future Past?
That's what I just said, yes.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so...
It's Days of Future Past. Then it's Apocalypse
Now.
just X-Men Apocalypse. Then it's Dark Phoenix.
And that's the last one we're doing?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we were going to do the Wolverine movie or not.
No. I mean, I like Wolverine, but it's not really like this. It's the focus of the original trilogy. It's not what I'm here for. You know, he's cool, right, but he's not what I care about. We might do Logan down the line.
Are any of the X-Men movies we're about to watch good?
I thought First Class was good, and then I watched it. So I don't know. I have some positive memories of Days of Future Past. I have some positive memories of Apocalypse. I know Apocalypse is worse than Days of Future Past, but there's cool moments in it. Dark Phoenix is bad. That one was just bad.
Just 3 more months, folks.
3 more months and then we're done, and then we can move on to other types of movies.
And then I will never watch another X-Men movie.
Yeah, no, that's entirely fair. I have tortured you. I have tortured you, and I'm only a little sorry.
It's okay. I still love you.
Love you too. So yeah, I hope you all like the remakes. I don't remember who made this movie. I don't know if the person who made this movie even would want to make this kind of movie again. But Kevin Feige, I guess you can take these ideas and use them to reintroduce the X-Men somehow. I don't know.
You know what's a better example of the 60s, 70s aesthetic?
What's that?
Austin Powers.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that was a great... Austin Powers movies are fantastic.
We should watch those at some point. Not for the show, just,
Maybe for the show.
Maybe
Not all of them for the show. Maybe the first one. I really like Goldfinger. That was the one I had.
The problem is I don't know if I would want to redo those movies.
That's a good point.
They're just so good.
That's a good point. They are exactly what they wanted to be. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And I don't have a second thought. I don't have any thoughts anymore.
I hope none of you are watching any X-Men movie.
Yeah, just don't bother at this point.
Did I say X-Man movie as though it's Pokemon?
There's one man. There's the one man. He is the X-Man. There is an X-Man.
There is actually.
In Marvel Comics.
X-Man.
There's an X-Man. Anyways, we'll see you all later.
Bye.